Hello, and welcome to my combo lords joining me here today. Today is a very special stream, and it is pointing the wrong way at first for a reason. In today's very special stream, there's a chance we're going to pass 100,000 subscribers. More likely, I will do this shorter stream and then pause to upload my final exam, which I have finished but do need to export and upload, which takes a little time. But is 30 questions ready for any viewers who want to challenge their brain or other parts of their mind or life, because it isn't purely math. 20 or 21 of the questions are math, and then there's some other stuff. Now, why is the camera pointing the wrong way is a good starting question. And the reason is because in this last sector of the grade, as we're going to do our modular reset like clocks do, and I will, in grade -2, which will be coming in early April, look tidier, and so will the classroom. Certain things are going to be changing over the course of me filming a rare finale episode. And in this rare finale episode, it's going to be maybe about an hour long from what I'm planning of it. Include a lot of rare fun stuff of not only the transition to grade -2, but also some flashbacks that you folks never knew about previous YouTube channels I had, the surgeries I got while making this grade, some of my camera people making cameos, and other fun things like that. Taking a trip to a location I hinted at in a channel long ago that we'll visit now, and things like that. And one of the things that I have begun filming for it, the very first scene of it, I have shown to my Patreon people, but this next scene no one's seen. So really nobody knows about this except my family and close friends. But I decided part of the shift is going to have to include me tidying up as well as the classroom, and that it makes sense for me to get a haircut and or shave. Now, many people have wanted that, many others have not wanted that. People have a lot of opinions about hair and fashion. I don't have as strong of opinions about those things, but I don't care. It drives the algorithm if they comment stuff about my appearance. Leave your comments before I show what my hair is currently like over whether you would prefer my hair to not shrink much and to grow increasingly long and crazy, or for my hair to get much shorter and tidier, including my beard, mustache, and rest of my hair. Because since I'd gotten comments on both sides of the scale, one's hinting that, oh, you should keep it super long, one's hinting you should cut it again super short like it was in the early episodes, I have decided, well, maybe I like somewhere in between those. Maybe I should somewhat half shave my hair, like some were thinking. And as I thought more about do it like, only shaving half of the beard and cutting half the hair, that started to make sense. And that is all why I have cut half of my hair and beard. So, I thought that was the most logical, like people were saying, was to shave half the beard and cut half the hair. I'm assuming that's what people meant. By half, they meant 50% should be fully shaved and 50% should be really long. So, yes, I did do this myself without even looking in a mirror yesterday. It's for a scene for the finale that I was probably going to keep secret, but since I'm going to hit 100K today, I was going to do some special for that anyway, so you guys were going to see the finale haircut, which, yes, is only until grade -2 starts. Don't worry. This is not a fashion statement. This is me deciding to take a very mathematical and literal definition of cutting half the hair and beard, like some suggested. So to anyone who said that I should half cut the hair and half cut the beard, this is your fault. No, I'm kidding. But it is going to be a wild scene of the finale, and this half is really crazy because I cut it myself with scissors without looking in a mirror. Like, I don't think I have the scissors right here. Maybe I'll grab them in a minute because I could tidy it up a little bit, snap some more bits off. And then, yes, in a week or two, I'm going to have a friend to find the shortest spot here and cut it all to that length. So that's what we're rolling with for the next week or two. Was going to be a secret, but since so many people are joining and we're going to do a 100K subscriber special anyway, we're just putting it in the Modular Monday. This is kind of just one of my weekly streams, my Modular Mondays. Although I did it at 11 a.m. instead of 10 a.m. I'm going to blame that on daylight savings because the 11 a.m. I started it at here is what 10 a.m. would have been last week. This is the same time of day, apart from the minute solar shifts in season that have happened within a week's span. Apart from that 1/52nd of the year's season, it's the same hour. 11 a.m. now as 10 a.m. then. Daylight savings is super dumb. It causes health problems. It causes traffic accidents. A lot of people say, well, it makes sense for farmers. That's actually a myth. Modern farmers usually don't support it, the majority at least. And so daylight savings is dumb. However, in California where I am, permanent daylight savings would arguably be better, like no shifting, but always being on the time that is called daylight savings, because then you get more day in the normal day. Like, who wants the day to start at 5 a.m. and then be done at 5 p.m. some seasons? Come on, let's shift it back a little. So, we're going to blame it all on daylight savings. But this is what the hair is going to be like for at least a week. It's kind of an ironic week for that. I'm going to a friend is doing an event for Pi Day tomorrow. And I'm going to a St. Patrick's Day party on Friday. And I think I'm going to look like this at both of them. Now, if I'm really embarrassed, I could wear some sort of beanie and mask. Although, I will probably just wear it like this. And where I'm from is I am from the Bay Area of California, which is in the U.S., what's called the United States. And I love that my fans are from all over. Super cool to have people in all sorts of time zones. So, yes, this is what we're going to work with, and I'm not going to explain it any further because there's a scene about it in the finale. So, that was a few minutes explaining it, and to anyone who joins later, you're just going to have to deal with it. And someone says, for 150K, will I shave my head bald? I don't know. I'll shave my head bald when we enter the grade that starts where I look like a monk in the forest. So, could be grade -3, could be grade -4. One of these grades will probably start after like a 1-month gap where you're like, where am I? And I'm bald and I'm in the middle of the woods in a cave. So, whenever that grade is, I probably will. And unless you meant for 150K dollars, in which case I would do whatever with my hair people wanted. But we're going to keep a running tab of where we're at on the subscribers. The streams do not gain me subscribers. If anything, the streams sometimes lose me subscribers. They do sometimes get me awesome donations from folks like Jamie here, thank you. And they do get me a building community. And I do them because they're fun, and because I think I get to spread extra knowledge and extra little philosophy and stuff through my streams. So I want to do that for the world, and they're fun for me. But also, it helps me build my community. It is not for gaining subscribers. What gains those is the videos, and especially the shorts. But normal videos can do great on my combo class channel. the one called Combo Class, that you should all make sure you're subscribed to also, is that doesn't have any shorts or anything on it yet, and I might put some in the future, but for now that already has 25,000 subscribers just from its videos, so you can do things with just videos. But on this channel, what's going to get us these last 200, or right now it's probably a little less, let me check where we're at, like 180 or whatever subscribers we need left for 100,000, it's gonna come from the shorts. Funny enough, it's not even gonna come from the latest shorts I posted. It comes from the shorts that YouTube really liked because of something about how much people watched of them, or how often people didn't skip them, or how many people commented, or stuff like that. So there are some that YouTube really likes because of those factors, and it's the old ones that YouTube really likes that keep getting poppin' enough to draw in these last, let's check how many subscribers we need. I'll actually check on my phone because I'll have the exact stat right here. And right now we are at 99,822 subscribers. Ironically, doing streams like this sometimes loses me a few because I get random people who subscribe from a short, figure out they don't want the whole combo rabbit hole, they don't want to join me for the full batch of learning, they only liked that one short or whatever. So once in a while the streams lose me subscribers. However, the subscribers that are here, the streams do build a nice community. And for those who want more of that, remember that, as I often say, the Discord has a lot of great chatting of different combo lords, as I call my viewers, and a lot of great combo lord discussions on that Discord. Some cool stuff on the subreddit as well. And of course, my mandatory thing I have to say once every hour of stream, just because it's, you know, good for the channel and mandatory for me to help my own growth, is that I do recommend checking out the Patreon as well, because on there I just uploaded another cool behind the scenes thing, which is the first scene of the finale, not where I cut my hair, but the scene before that. And I also will put all of your names on a whiteboard that will be thanked in the finale, and you will also be helping a lot. So, moving forward, this stream is often called Modular Mondays. But first I just have to explain all the crazy stuff that's going on in my week before I can even get to the modular stuff. So, seems like everything hit today. It's the 13th. It's not a Friday the 13th. I find those fun, but this month didn't begin in a Sunday, so the 13th's not a Friday. And which is an if and only if correlation. And based on a strange definition of how days are created, you could even almost call it a causation if you define days in a successor-like way based on the last. But in any case, this month didn't begin in a Sunday, so it's the different one. It's a Monday the 13th, not as talked about in society. The 13th's still cool. I always liked the 13th as a kid. Not necessarily because it has especially marvelous traits. Of course, being a smallish prime number, it does have cool traits, but it's not like the all-star number out of the first 10 or 20. Well, it wouldn't be any number in the first 10, but it's not like the all-star whole number out of the first 20 positive integers. However, it has these interesting spiritual connotations where in Western society, some people think it's cursed and unlucky. There are some floors that, or some buildings that skip the 13th floor and stuff like that. Just ridiculous. Imagine being on a 14th floor that's actually the 13th floor. And I know in other societies they have other floors they skip because that is an unlucky word for different reasons. Some of which are like the number sounds like a bad, unlucky word in the society's language. Here, 13 is a pretty random one. It's probably related to it being sort of like a twisted version of the ever common dozen, where dozen or 12 is so common in society, it gets a nickname, dozen, it gets egg cartons often come in 12s, calendars, clocks, 12s are all over. So 13's being cursed. I've seen some guesses that it could be related to that. But I always like to flip that little curse in my head and be like, well, why are people thinking this is cursed? That's kind of silly. Let's turn it into a lucky day, if anything. So I treated 13 like a lucky number. And it's what we can call a cultural constant. Sort of like pi is what you could call a circle constant. And speaking of pi, one of the many things that is clashing on this 13th right now, apart from it just being the 13th, is Pi Days tomorrow. I'll do some sort of video or stream for it, but not going to do a crazy Pi Day thing this year, maybe next year. Some math channels do cool stuff for it. I know, like Matt Parker of Stand Up Maths is a good YouTube channel and writer. He does something different for Pi Day every year, a different way to calculate pi. So a lot of ways you can calculate pi. And at some point we'll probably do some Pi Day special that's elaborate. But this year I got so much other stuff going on that will keep Pi Day relatively simple. Although I am going to a friend's event where they will be cooking pies in honor of Pi Day. And I'm going to have to show up looking like this. So, with this week, not only is it almost Pi Day, but the 13th has meant some things to me for other reasons. One thing I've mentioned in this channel that I'll mention a little more in the finale, but I've only mentioned it bare times, so many of you may not know about, is that before combo class I had a dark period, and part of what was related to it was I was a very heavy alcoholic. And the first day I fully quit drinking for the foreseeable future then, and to a time that's remained until today, was on a 13th, on June 13th of the year before last, meaning that today I happen to have, because I chose not to drink alcohol for at least a very long time at that point, which is a time I'm still within. I haven't drank a drop of alcohol in 7/4 of a year, 1 year and 3/4. So that would make today interesting to me anyway. And it's the day before Pi Day. But then it also is the day where I'm about to hit 100,000 subscribers. So I have to do some sort of fun live stream special, or want to do some fun sort of special. And it's the day where I have my head shaved like this, so I have to have that on the video. And on top of all that, it's the day, or I said yesterday it might come, but it ended up being today because it took me a minute to get it perfect, is the day I'm putting out the final exam for grade -1. So all sort of funny, weird timing that I'm going to hit 100,000 on the day I'm putting out the final exam. Final exam is in a way more for the main channel, although I'm going to talk about it a bunch here, and the answers are going to be given in a video here. The episode introducing all the questions, which will be linked there in a written form, also linked in the Discord and stuff like that, but mostly in an episode on the main channel, because I made a fun episode where I go through all the questions in different locations here and in nearby cool nature and stuff. We get cat cameos, we get squirrel cameos, we get fire, so it's worth watching the episode for sure, which is coming out when this stream ends, plus how long it takes for me to export and upload it in HD. So that could be an hour or two, but probably an hour or two after the stream ends, it should be processed in HD and stuff and ready to make public. And it'll be a fun video whether or not you want to try the test. A real quick reminder of what I've said before, and I'll mention in the video again, is that it is completely optional, not built the way many tests are. I'm trying to make it less reliant on memorization. I tried and more on problem solving and or interacting with the real world and or thinking about your opinions on things for different sections. Much of it is mathematical problem solving, but there are 2 other sections after that. And of the math ones, I tried to make it less memorization based, though some of them require some sort of mathematical tool that you would maybe only know if you had watched some episode on the main combo class channel about that type of number, or if you happen to have studied that aspect of number theory or whatever other math topic. So you could solve this test without having seen any of my videos if you happened to have studied a lot of number theory, recreational math, and happened to overlap on all the things I did / discover a few of the things that I had thrown in myself. So theoretically you could solve this on your own. It'd be a lot harder if you hadn't seen any of the episodes, but really the only clues you need apart from problem solving in basic arithmetic are something that I've mentioned on a main channel episode for sure, on the combo class channel in one of the math related episodes, or I mean definitely on there, and sometimes also mentioned in streams here. So if you want to study for it in any way, you could rewatch the math episodes on the combo class channel. Those will have clues about the tools you may need. For example, there may be questions about writing things in other bases, things about certain types of numbers like palindromic numbers, square numbers in different bases or what are called mods, prime numbers. So it'll definitely help if you've seen some of the patterns I've shown about those. Some of the questions are in fact ones where you could solve them with brute force, like I mentioned in my last stream, but it would be way more practical to solve them with figuring out or knowing some clue that I mentioned in an episode that you could probably also solve yourself and figure out, because the brute force sometimes would take your lifetime to do, like in one where it says you roll 2 dice and do something with them. If you did this 1 million times, what would you expect so and so to be? And so I was imagining with my camera guy, like, what if someone starts actually trying to roll out 1 million dice rolls to test it? So if you think you might need to use brute force on a question, you probably don't. You might need to use basic arithmetic though. Probably don't need to use a calculator. Probably, if you've seen the main channel videos, probably don't need to look up any terms. So, and it's not all math, so there's a more surreal ending to it as well. Make sure to watch the episode. It's just like 13 or 14 minutes, and I think closer to 13 minutes, whether or not you're going to click the link to the written version of the test. And if you do try the test, no rush to watch the answer video that's coming out in a week on this channel, because take your time on the test. There's no deadline. There's a way to self-score it if you want out of 30 points, because there are 30 numbered things. So you can give yourself a score out of 30 if you want, but I'm not going to give you a score. No score constitutes passing versus failing. The more you try, the better. And if you even try a few of them, that'll put you in the top few percentile of my viewers in terms of not only getting what the test might have to offer, but proving a little bit of persistence toward doing a little work that's not just me feeding you a fact. And having to do a little problem solving on your own not only trains the brain, but requires a little dedication and persistence. So it might also be good to think, if I don't want to do any of the test, is that also saying something about, laziness is a cheap word for it, but something along those lines of sometimes people want to be fed facts and don't want to discover them themselves. Well, in this test, you will have to come to some facts yourself using a little bit of discovery and a tiny bit of what some would call work. Type of work I would call fun. So, stay tuned for about an hour or two after this stream ends, as long as it takes to export and upload and have the HD processed. I'm going to guess 2 hours after the stream ends for the final exam. However, probably stay tuned for another different stream, because it's all happening at chaotic times, and I'm probably not going to hit 100,000 in this stream, but I'm probably going to hit it later today. And I don't know if that's going to be before or after the test video is processed. So let's see where we're at. we were at 822, and now we are at 1 minute. It's loading where we're at. 833. That's cool. We went from 22 to 33. So 99833 now. Gotten 11 new subscribers since the stream started. In fact, we probably lost a few subscribers who didn't want to see the stream and unsubscribed, and gained enough that we had a total of gaining 11. So we're on our way, but it's probably not going to happen during this stream. What I'm in fact going to probably do is soon transition to quick read of the comments, quick response to some comments, because I haven't been looking at them for a minute. Sorry, folks. Just been chatting. Gonna look at them in a minute. It takes a lot of stuff going on in the brain to run the technology of the stream and make sure I'm framed right on camera. Go with all the stuff I want to talk about in the stream. Sound coherent and or interesting or funny. And look at the chat. So sometimes we gotta go back and forth between those. Otherwise, we get those moments where I think I'm I think I'm showing everyone a graph, and you're just seeing my face, and I'm just talking about a graph you can't see. We don't want any more of those moments in grade -2. At some point, I'll have someone on my team helping me run the tech. That'll be majorly helpful. We'll see. Combo class is all relatively new. In the finale, you're gonna see some flashbacks of the type of things I was filming 5 years ago, the type of things I was filming 2 years ago, and the type of things I was filming 1 year ago were the very first episodes on the main Combo Class channel. And I hadn't filmed anything that is on this channel as of a year ago. So, super awesome. I knew we were going to pass 100,000 someday. Did not think it would go super awesome and crazy. Did not think it was going to be in grade -1. So, that's awesome. Thank you all. I love you all. So, oh no, it's raining ever so slightly. So, that's not good. It said really mild chance of tiny rain today. Maybe I can somehow protect the computer. You don't want to hold this forever. But, okay, I'm going to hold this weird curtain for just one moment. And by curtain, I mean the shirt with the Frankenberry guy on it. It's really faded, though. But you guys know Frankenberry. This is sort of before my time. So it's probably before a lot of, before a lot of your times. It was not so before my time that I don't remember it, but it was more a thing of the generation right before me, maybe, or maybe a few before some of you, but you know this Frankenberry guy? Yeah. So we'll use that to protect from any rain just for a moment, because I think it's temporary, and then we can stay out here. If we need, we can go in my room, but Combo Classroom's a lot cooler. Now, there are actually some clues here. I don't know if any of you, I probably accidentally caught it in the intro. Some things have changed around here mildly that you won't see until the finale, but you're going to see little clues whenever you see the classroom. Maybe even be some streams where it has to be mysterious, where we'll see. In any case, I'm going to check our comment section. Always glad to see the comments, and I should check it once in a while, because you never get you sometimes get wild people, usually get awesome people. So, do I love April Fools? I do. April Fools is one of my favorite holidays, underrated holiday. It's fun to have a day for mild pranks. I'm a big fan of mild pranks when you have the type of relationship from someone where they know it and they're pranking you back and stuff. So, with friends who you have sort of a unspoken or spoken agreement that you're both genuinely having fun pranking each other, and no one's getting really getting their feelings hurt. then I'm a big fan of mild pranks. Now, in fact, one of the fiction books that I've been writing for a while, it's probably not the first I'm going to finish and publish, but one of them relates to a prank war that becomes possibly, I don't want to spoil it, but a prank war that gets very out of hand in a sort of mathematical, scientific way. So that will be one of the fiction books, all right. But despite that book maybe serving as a warning for not taking pranks too far, I have some friends who've gotten in prank wars with each other too, and they have taken it too far on each other. They have done insane pranks on each other. So you got to go light. But for light pranks, I love April Fool's Day. Classic holiday. Used to love it as a kid. Still love it. In fact, I have stated that in combo class, you have to be careful because combo class considers the first of any month that month's Fool's Day. So you can, for example, March 1st was March Fool's Day. And someone says, what are they doing here? But I'm cute. On the day I cut my hair like this? Really? Okay, maybe this is how I finally get a girlfriend, by cutting my hair absurdly. So people are saying the hair is actually cool. I'm surprised. I'm not going to keep it for more than a week or two. The hair looks like a style choice, but when you look at how it's half the beard and mustache, you get a little more like, okay, I don't know about that. And someone's saying, wait, you drink? I don't currently. I used to a lot, but I currently haven't in a long time. And what's up with the clocks? Well, we love clocks around here because clocks, although they fall apart sometimes, can show modular cycles, can show highly composite numbers, can be symbolic of seasonal shifts, can show a lot of great stuff. So at first I started getting the clocks there's an episode on my main channel explaining the parts that are related to sort of a running gag I got wrapped up in and a promise I made, which I'm still in the process of doing. Wait till great. Okay, this is just, sometimes I'll leave little clues within the streams of things to come, and just for people who are here catching this, I will note that although it will look barren back here, like very cleaned up, at some point this month, by the time grade -2 drops, which might be on April Fool's Day, it's either going to be on April Fool's Day or very shortly after, there will be many clocks. So, let's see. Oh yeah, and Booberry. Booberry is Frankenberry's friend or whatever. So, appreciate all the random people popping in and just who seem like they don't normally join the streams, wanted to say hi. If you don't know me well, welcome to the Combo Classroom, where we do wild learning and everything. And on this stream, the type of learning we're going to do is going to be related to what's called Mod 2. And for those who know about that, that's going to relate to evens and odds. Now, Mod 2 we're going to discuss because when I was going to plan, I'm going to do weekly live streams in March and maybe for further months. And I set them on Mondays and Thursdays. I was like, what are some good things that have alliteration or even more letters in common with Monday and Thursday? And for Thursday, I was like, that reminds me in my head of threeven, which is a number we talk about, or type of number we talk about a lot. Now, however, threevens are not going to be discussed as much in this episode, except for mere hints, because that's Mod 3's patterns. So, I called this one for Mondays, Modular Mondays, and the Thursday one, Threeven Thursdays, partially just for the alliteration, and partially because those are topics I knew I'd have a lot to say about, so it will end up at some point in the episode tying into the theme. And so, or in some point in the live stream, whatever, tie into whatever it's named, if I name it after a running mathematical concept we use here. And so, the different mods, which are cycles that numbers can be seen to run in that are similar to remainders after division of a certain number, or similar to how much higher you are than the latest multiple of a given number, or the last digit you'd have in a given base, or if you had a clock with that many things on it, what it would look like. So there's a lot of ways to make it an analogy or to use it in math. And you can choose a number for the mod. Typically a whole number 2 or higher, similar to how the basic type of base starts with integers 2 or higher before you can extend it like we have. And so mods typically are going to be like mod 2, mod 3, mod 4 or something. And I figured, why not dedicate a little time per week to each one? So last week it was the first episode of Modular Mondays, and so we talked about how mod 1, kind of like base 1, doesn't work very well, doesn't give you that much good data or addition to anything, and has certain possibly even glitches depending on if you're following the exactly same rules as before. Same with mod 0. And so that was last week's. This week we're on the second episode, and we're going to talk about mod 2. And whoever wonders if I'm in my villain era, depends how you define villain. If you define villain as I'm going to trick a lot of people into liking numbers, then yes, I'm the villain. But if you mean villain as in do something immoral, nah, I'm a good guy. So I'm not going to do anything bad to somebody, or to the world. So not that type of villain. However, when we're late in a grade, which we are very late in grade -1, you could say on a modular cycle, if it was a modular mod 24 cycle, like all the hours in the day, we are pretty close to, if not at, the 23rd hour hitting, about to go to 0. And so, or what you might call on some of these clocks, 11 p.m. if you were counting the AMs. And if you weren't counting the AMs and just counting it as a 12 cycle, you could say we're almost at 11:30. So because of that, when we're late in the grade, I will get a little more wild, or some would call it deranged or unhinged. I'll let myself be a little more natural as opposed to worrying about calculating everything quite as much. So we'll be a little more crazy during the late grade, and we can visually see that as well. So someone's wondering why 1 divided by 1 equals 1, because one person gets 1, but if 1 divided by 0 or something, well, dividing would be, if you're comparing it to some items, 1 divided by 1 is like, I have 1 clock here divided by 1 pile that I put things in. There's only 1 pile and there's only 1 clock, and there's 1 item in it. So 1 divided by 1 is 1. 1 divided by 0 would be more like asking, I have 1 item and I put it in no piles. So that's why you start hitting more glitches there, in addition to what I showed in my most popular short here, where it's hinting at 2 things at once. The way I like to phrase it, in fact, which is very, just a casual way of saying a completely true thing, mathematically, but phrased casually, but completely mathematically true, is that 1 divided by 0 is trying to be infinity and negative infinity at the same time. And the mathematical way of saying that is that from the positive direction, the limit's infinity, and from the negative direction, the limit is negative infinity. The funny thing is, on that short, a lot of people comment a term they learned that relates to it that they think then invalidates the video, where they'll say something like, nope, that's called an asymptote. It's not what this guy in the lab coat's saying. That's called an asymptote. I'm like, yeah, there's an asymptote there. I didn't use that word because some people wouldn't know what it meant. So I didn't use the word asymptote. That's also true. But that doesn't change the other thing. And the other people, no, that's called a limit. I'm like, I know. I'm not going to use every technical word in every video just because it's called a limit. the graph is still true. So, you gotta love some of those shorts comments. The comments on the main combo class channel are incredibly intelligent, shockingly so. Like 99% of them are really well thought out and or really nice. Like if they're, I don't mind if things are critical, but like they're a thought out comment. And on the shorts channel, your ratio is not 99%. That's all I'll say. And are any of the clocks still functioning? I made sure that they weren't. That's another way you could call me a villain is if you send me a clock, I'm going to take out the batteries so it stops working, and eventually it'll probably be broken as well. I didn't want them moving because they make ticking noises, they go weird in continuity for videos, and they ruin the amount of times that I'll have one of these right per day. Because a moving clock, unless it's exactly accurate, which under a close enough microscope none are, will never be right. Unless it's moving at a rate that like goes too fast and then too slow, and then too fast and then too slow, or unless it's going backwards, it will never be right because it's always going to be early or late. Unless it's slowly losing time or slowly gaining time, and then it'll be right like once a millennia. These, however, imagine how many times a day I got one of these clocks right. We take that for granted around here, but it's something to appreciate. If anyone ever notices in a stream that one of the background clocks is the current time where you're at or where you think I'm at, definitely leave a comment. That is the exact type of running lore we're trying to continue, is noticing that these clocks are right all the time. I mean, they're each right twice a day, but between all of them. So, some questions I have explained in previous episodes, and so, or in previous live streams, so I can't answer all of them, but thank you for all of the comments and questions. And to those who say I look like a mad genius, I'm down with looking like a mad scientist. I have nothing against that. You should have seen me when I was limping around on these. The lab coat was a little cleaner and my hair wasn't like this, but I used to sometimes go around town. More often, it would be like me showing up at a party or something, limping around using a golf club as a cane. And that was because, as I'll explain in the finale, which is why I have these out as props again, as I'll explain in the finale, there was a while where I needed a cane, and the golf clubs worked perfectly, and were a funny conversation starter, and theoretically could have helped against an intruder. But, just kidding on that part, pretty much. And so I'd be limping around with these because I needed them, because I was before, during, and after these crazy surgeries I had to get. And when this fell, it knocked some stuff like this cup of coffee over. Okay, well, I'm in my coffee spilling era, if anything. So we got to plug in the computer. Stay tuned, our stream's not done. We're going to talk about evens and odds real quick. Now, we're not going to go as deep into this as my book about three-even numbers will, because my book about three-even numbers also has a lot, which I'm writing right now, also has a lot to say about evens and odds, and about the combined patterns of evens, odds, three-evens, and the two types of throds. All of those combined basically is the patterns of mod 6. So mod 6 is our true hero, but part of what makes that great is the three-even, and another part that makes that great is the even. So today we're going to look in a relatively quick but fun fashion at some weird things you might not know about even and odd numbers. Now, this will be an assortment of little facts, some of which may have been in a short, some of which may have been somewhere else. but I don't think I've done an episode yet about just looking at evens and odds. As usual, the best combo class stuff that comes out is the main channel stuff, so if you end up leaving this stream, do check in a few hours on the main channel for that weird, wacky video where I present my final exam, which is genuinely both a chaotic, weird video and something that I am mathematically proud of that I've done. I was just thinking, some people were thinking, like, should I go study more math at a school to get some further degree or something? Well, if I did that, I could have spent multiple years to learn a bunch of stuff and to get some sort of diploma or plaque or whatever that gives me that credential. But instead, and to take a test to do that, instead I went down a weird path. I spent 1 year making insane videos so far, and about a lot of stuff that I knew and things that I was learning in that era by reading a ton of stuff on my own and by doing my own calculations and experiments. And basically, somehow my weird, crazy plans are succeeding in that after just 1 year, I'm going to get a plaque from YouTube for the 100,000 thing, I guess, which is, like, to me, better than a college diploma. And I did read more books than I would have in college, and I ended up being the one making the test, weirdly. So the test I made, I am actually kind of proud of. It's a good thing for people's brains, but it's also just a silly, cool video. So thank you all for joining me. A few things about evens and odds now. Let's look at, on my whiteboard, a few things that evens and odds can do. Here's a fun, quick one. In the English language, as I mentioned in one of my, the last episode on the Combo Class channel, which will be the second last soon because I'm putting out the test, but the one before that about language and math together, about spelling numbers in English and a lot of cool patterns that emerge. I mentioned this there, so if you like this fact, make sure you've seen the whole episode. But every odd number in English has an E in it, and that's not true for every even number. Additionally, let's think about which numbers have the whole string even, E-V-E-N, in them. What numbers have even spelled out in them? Numbers that contain 7 or 11. Odd numbers. I mean, you could 7D gets lucky. So you could sometimes have a multiple of 7 or 11 that gets you an even, but pretty much all of them are odd. The first two are for sure, because 7 and 11 are odd numbers and are the ones with even in it. Ridiculous. Anyway, on to the mathematical components. That's just an example of how English is ridiculous. If you want more facts like that, as well as just actual cool stuff about language and numbers, make sure you've checked out that last episode on the main Combo Class channel. I think it's linked in the description here. Now, here, let's look at evens and odds. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some of these are evens, some of these are odds. So, let's put well, this would have been better if I wrote it in 2 colors, maybe. We'll give evens and odds their own colors. So does this work? Yeah. So, odds are going to be blue and evens are going to be this, even though some people actually have that thing where numbers sort of seem to have colors to them, and I do have that associated. And to me, 5 can feel maybe a little bluish here, but these others don't feel quite as blue. 3 and 9 feel more reddish, and 7 feels more yellowish or orangish. 1 feels more whitish or yellowish. Some people have weird associations like that where you mix up things a little bit. The funny thing is that one time I wrote down what color I most associated with each number, and then I found a list I had made as a kid doing the same thing. And even though I'd never put much thought to that throughout life, because I have it relatively mildly, the list lined up. It was the same colors that I associated when I was like 20 and when I was like 10, even though I'd never thought about it in between and forgotten it. It's just kind of been at the back of my head since then. And then when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, they kind of feel like they have colors. So I would say it goes somewhat like whitish yellow, maybe greenish, or yeah, greenish, maybe bluish. 3, 6, and 9 feel maybe like pink and then red and then purple. 2 and 4 and 8 feel like maybe increasingly gray or black shades of like greenish or bluish. So you never know. Leave a comment if you have any other associations. That was an entirely different rant. What we want to look at here for our evens and odds mathematically is, first of all, if I added up all of these numbers as consecutive sums of all the things that have happened so far up to a point, added up, like here's 1, then total is, this we have to write with both markers because it's a combo one. It's because we're adding up both types. So our run total of both is we get 1, 3, 6, 10. And these are the triangular numbers if we're adding up all of it. However, what if I just add up the odds or just the evens? Well, my collective sum of the evens is 2, 6 total, 12 total, 20 total. Now, what's notable about these numbers is that they all can be split into factors. This isn't necessarily their full prime factorization, but they all can be written as one number times another number, that are 1 apart. So it turns out like the first collective sum was 1 times 2, then 2 times 3, then 3 times 4, then 5 times... I'm doing this wrong. 4 times 5. Then 4 times 5. And what these are called sometimes are pronic numbers, also called oblong numbers, and they can be expressed as sort of like triangular numbers could be like little triangles of dots. These are bad triangles, but they make good triangles. These can be made into oblong shapes, and they're also called oblong numbers sometimes, which is the name I'm going to more frequently use. And they will make an appearance in some cool episodes about this type of number that these and the next thing we're going to see and these are included in, which are known as figurate numbers, or to be more specific, polygonal numbers. Debatable whether you'd call these ones polygonal numbers, but you definitely would consider triangular and square polygonal numbers. Now, what about if I add up the odds? Well, you might expect it might be less interesting, but it's even more interesting. Not only that, it's something you know much better. 1 has happened so far, 4 has happened so far, 9 has happened so far. This is just the odds. 16, it's the square numbers. And square numbers also are those figurate numbers, because I can draw them as squares of dots, or make squares of them in other ways. So I get square numbers. So the square numbers are the sum of all of the first odd numbers, mixed with the fact that I showed in a video here once that square numbers are precisely the whole numbers, if and only if you're a square number, that have an odd number of total divisors or positive factors. And so square numbers turn out to like odd numbers more than even numbers. Square numbers have 2 ways they like odd numbers, and one way, the main way they like even is like how many sides does it have? 4, that's even. But square numbers, half of them are odd, half of them are even. We get odd, even, But here, apart from noting that the amount of sides of it is even, square numbers have so many relationships with odd numbers. Trippy. So, odds and evens are cool, and why am I talking about them so much in this thing called Mod 2 or Modular Monday 2? Well, because in Mod 2, that is the land where we are just looking at the remainder numbers have after division by 2, essentially. What cycle they fall into in multiple of 2 or one more than multiple of 2. And we're going to call those 0 for no remainder after division and 1 for one remainder. But really, 0 is odd. 0 is even and 1 is odd. So your evens can be called zeros, or to use their full name, numbers that are congruent to 0, mod 2, and odds can be called numbers that are congruent to that, mod 1. Now I guess this is getting off screen somewhat. Someone said, please check my sub count too. I forgot we have to be aware of that. We got to see when it's going to pass that majestic in our base point. We are at 99852. So it's probably not going to pass in this stream like I thought, but it's definitely going, not definitely, but definitely probably. It is, I'm going to rank it as a 1 in 5 chance it passes it in this stream, and a 4 in 5 chance, not meaning the other part of that 5 out of 5, but separately, a 4 out of 5 chance that it passes it sometime today. Which I guess includes that 1 out of 5, actually. So out of the 4/5 that it'll happen today, 1/5 of that is that it'll happen in this stream. So here we have 0 and 1 again. But what I'm doing is making a little table. I'm making a little table because we're going to look at addition patterns, and then I'm going to turn to multiplication. First we'll do, and we can just make one of each. So down here will be our multiplication table, and I will lift this so we can see it. Okay, can super lift it. I have to be careful actually, because as you will see in the finale or in the clip that I put up for my Patreon supporters, something happened to this really large square clock. And this is why you gotta be careful around the combo class. This is like a freaking window. This thing could, you know, kill a woolly mammoth. So that's why when I tell people to come around the combo classroom, I say, not allowed to be barefoot for your sake. So someone says it looks like I'm experiencing some apocalyptic event. I wonder what that's from. This camera makes the light really weird, so I wonder if that's what's happening. And in any case, I want to show this, so I'll go a little closer on this while I do it. And here we're going to look at addition in mod 2. We have 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 1, or 1 plus 0 is 1, but 1 plus 1 gets us 2, which turns back to 0, because 1 plus 1 has no remainder after division by 2, when you look at the whole 1 plus 1. So that's our addition table. I'll put a little plus next to it. Here we'll put a times for multiplication. And on our addition table, we can note that this does correlate with patterns. Any even number plus another even, or an odd plus another odd, always gets you an even. Any odd plus an even, or even plus an odd, gets you an odd. Essentially, two sames get you a same, no, wait. Two sames get you an even, and two difference get you an odd. And so, oh no, this is way too low. Sorry. This will be a better angle. So, here, as we look at multiplication next, we'll note that in multiplication we get 0, turning all these to zeros, and only 1 there. That means that if we multiply an even by an odd, or an even by an even, we get an even, but an odd times an odd is still odd. Now, these patterns are so simple that a lot of people have learned them, and a lot of people think, oh, that's so simple, I know that. But people don't apply it to some circumstances that it would be helpful to. They're really useful patterns. Sometimes when you're solving something about numbers, it's a huge shortcut if you know if something's even or odd. And you can sometimes know that if you know these patterns. That, for example, if you're adding or multiplying something and you end up with an odd, well, in terms of addition, you could have started with an odd and an even, but not two of the same type. Or in terms of multiplication, you need it to have not only the same type, but two odds. So that is a little bit of mod 2 patterns that will actually show up again in the future as an aspect of a mod 6 chart, because we can use these mixed with the ones we'll find in next week's Modular Monday, where we're going to be talking mod 3 or 3 even number patterns. Then we'll combine those into mod 6 when we get to that. We're not going to go insanely deep about evens and odds beyond this point today, even though there are many other interesting patterns they hold, because I need to finish uploading that final exam, and it's going to crash the stream if I try and export the video from like the edited version of the video to make an export of it on the computer. Is going to crash the stream if I try and do that at the same time. So what we're going to have to do in a little bit is wrap up this stream with the knowledge that I will go live when I'm going to hit 100K. So you folks can keep an eye out, and to a degree know, because when you see it get to 0.9, if it doesn't in this stream, 99.9, then you will know. I forget if there's a way for you to see somewhere on here the other stuff. And to everyone who has to go, love to have you here. Thank you so much. I'll see you again soon. And then let's see. We're going to instead of crashing the stream with that, wrap up shortly. I'll go through some comments, and then you'll get your final exam, and whenever my thing happens, you'll have to try and guess. I was going to say I forget if there's a way for you to see my exact subscriber count somewhere, but if you see it at 99.9, you know that it won't be too long until we're there, and I will do some sort of thing, such as a subscriber special stream of some sort. So, thank you all for joining me so much. Stay tuned to that main channel, and whoever wanted the board to accidentally fall, you will get some of that in the main channel episode that's coming out today. Some boards definitely fall during the test. And as I present the test, it'll be fun to watch, and then I recommend, but it's optional, to also click the text link that I will have in there, or to look at the text version of it on the Combo Class Discord, where we will have the official text version that it's basically identical to what I go through in the video, but the video goes through it really quick, so you're not going to probably use the video while solving it. If you're actually working on the problems, you'll probably end up going to the text version at some point. So, thank you all for joining me. Stay tuned for those other fun streams in that video on the Combo Class channel, not this one. The stream will be on this channel, the final exam will be on the other one. And to ever ask for Q&A, a lot of my streams are allowed to have you ask any questions, so I might put Q&A in the title, but whether or not I do, anyone can always feel free to ask questions as long as they don't expect I'll necessarily answer them. But if people ask me questions about myself or other things, then when I go to the parts of the stream where I take a chat break to look at that, I will answer various ones when possible. So, thank you all so much. Make sure you're subscribed to that Combo Class channel, and if you want, that you're on that Discord. And I will see you all again in the final exam and in some sort of fun celebration where I'll still have this beard when we get to that 100,000, which I am also obligated to note is slightly overrated as a number. All it really has going for it is it's the 5th power of 10. But it's, it only has all the zeros because our base is built around 10. Despite it being overrated, since we're stuck in base 10, that extra digit will be so cool. That'll be so awesome. I'll say more about it when we get there. Thank you all for joining, and I love you all so much.